Well, hello again. It's time for another of those conversations that you all look forward to. Well, both of you do. So, what's happening tonight, Ruth?
Hi, tonight we've got Luke Walker with us. Welcome, Luke. Um,
Hi.
how are you? Okay.
Yeah, good, thank you. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, Luke, because I don't know this. What do you do for a job? What is your job?
So day to day, a design engineer, or officially, I'm a building services consultant, which sounds a bit posh, but it's really not. My children describe it as drawing pretty pictures on paper and on my monitor. So yeah, I'm an electrical engineer and design data centers.
Hmm.
That's my job.
Okay.
So, I mean,
And
what were you doing today, for example, just to give it that, make it concrete? What were you doing today?
What was I doing today? Stressing a bit, to be honest. But no, day to day, I deal with some big clients in the US, and I manage a team of engineers, mechanical and electrical engineers. I also manage architects, structural engineers, etc. And so really, my day to day is making sure the teams are doing what they're supposed to be doing, but also helping the guys design these big data center facilities electrically and mechanically. So that's
and,
really it in a nutshell.
and Luke, how did you come to KBC? What brought you to our church?
So we'd visited KBC sort of on and off when Livy was young, about 18 months old. As as Vicky and I were a bit concerned over the lack of children and young people at our church in Northway Evangelical Church, and we came along to Kidlington because a few people mentioned it, and there's obviously a great number of families at the time, and felt that KBC was the place for us long term. So after a few months sort of coming backwards and forwards between the two churches, we decided to make that change and come along to Kidlington, where hopefully, you know, the family orientation around the church would suit Livy a lot more, and obviously now Roxy and Noah.
Oh, we're glad to have you. And I want to ask you a bit about the other job. Well, I don't know if it's a job you do, first responder. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I volunteer for the NHS, for the ambulance service, as a community first responder. And during my sort of spare time, evenings and weekends, I log on to the ambulance service headquarters, and if there's a 999 call in the local vicinity of the village or local villages, then they'll send me to those 999 calls, and I'll be the first person on scene to help assess and do the beginnings of whatever needs to be done from a first aid perspective. So yeah, it's really good actually. It's quite nerve-wracking when you first get the call coming in on your phone, and you're sort of heading out to your car to go to the incidents. Yeah, it can be really nerve-wracking not knowing really what you're going to, but yeah, it's quite a good thrill.
How did you get involved in that?
It's so I knew people when I lived over in Tackley with my mum and dad who did it in that village, and then it was when Noah was born, he was quite poorly and ended up needing an ambulance and needing to go into hospital, into intensive care. And ever since then, I decided that I thought I'd give something back to the community, and looked into doing the training, what's necessary to become a first responder, and it sort of went from there really. And I've always had a real good, like, big passion in first aid, and when I was younger, I wanted to be a paramedic. So I thought I would, you know, give something back to the community and do that on a voluntary basis.
So how much time does that take up? Does it take up quite a bit of time, or can you just pick and choose? Or
I can pick and choose. So they give you like a smartphone, and basically I log on using like an app-based system, and they ask that you try and do a minimum number of hours of 20 hours a month. So which isn't too bad, to be honest, because it just means that, you know, an hour or two a night, and then a few hours at the weekend, and you quite easily make up those 20 hours. But to be honest, I quite enjoy it just because I quite like keeping sort of mentally active and mentally astute, shall we say. Yeah, there's lots of training, lots of examinations and stuff like that. So I quite enjoy all that sort of stuff.
It's a great job. It's a great job. Yeah. So when you're not at work and you're not doing a first responder, what are your passions? What things are you interested in? What do you do in any spare time you've got with 3 children?
Yes. I do love my swimming, cycling, running, sort of any outdoor activities I really enjoy. I try and keep fit. And yeah, I do run quite a lot during the week. So yeah, I'm quite physically active.
And if you run, cycle and swim, isn't there something called a triathlon?
Yes, yeah. So I do work triathlon every year, and I've also signed up to a half Ironman, which hopefully will happen this year. It didn't, obviously, last year for obvious reasons, but yeah, I'm hoping that I'll get to do this half Ironman this year.
So do you have one of those little app things that tells you how far you run and how far you cycled and all this and that?
Yeah. So I obviously track myself on my watch. I've got one of these smart watches, and then it obviously loads up to. I upload all that information to Strava as well. So yeah, I follow. I think Andy North's on Strava as well, so I follow Andy. See how far he's going as well.
And so do you get the children involved in that? Are they runners and cyclists?
Yeah, they are actually. They're all really keen on, especially cycling, and yeah, we try and go out as well, sort of as a family, and do cycle rides and lots of walking. We do lots of walking outside in the countryside. So yeah, we do try and keep active, and we love the outdoors. So yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Faith-wise, sort of, what's your story? Did you grow up in a Christian family, or how did it come about?
Yeah, so I was brought up in a Christian family, where my mum, dad, nan, granddad, all our brothers, we all went to Northway Evangelical Church on a weekly basis. So yeah, I've grown up with faith over the years, and I believe that there's probably I believe that there are key moments in my life where the Lord has spoken to me, and the first was on a weekend away when I was about 14 or 15, so quite a while ago now, where we were in breakout classes, and the youth leader was talking about their faith and how great things have happened to her, and I believe that the Lord was speaking to, as he was speaking to her, also sort of speaking to myself at that point. I felt that there was a bit of a turning point in my life when, I felt like I was going to commit myself to being Jesus' follower. It was almost a little bit like a lightning sort of strike moment. It was funny actually, because I was obviously in the same class as one of my younger brothers, and he also had that same sort of spiritual sort of feeling as well at that point in time. And then a few months later, we were interviewed by the leaders of the church, and we were both baptized on the same day at Evangelical Church. And it was actually by my granddad who baptized us with a full submersion baptism. So it was a great day.
How did you meet Vicky?
Ooh, it's an interesting subject. So it was actually so my best friend is married to her best friend, and so they kind of set us up on a night out at a pub in Woodstock, and we got talking, and we were playing actually darts, and I actually got beaten by Vicky playing darts. So that's really how we sort of initially got introduced, and it kind of followed on from there, really. I went and met up with her sort of a few times after that, with Heather and Craig, who are our best friends, and yeah, it just sort of happened, really.
And you lived happily ever after.
Lived happily ever after, yeah.
Luke, I've got to ask you this because I'm a fellow knitter. Has she taught you to knit?
No.
I mean, think about it, Ruth. He does triathlons. He works morning till night. He first responds. When are you going to have time to knit?
You never know. It's relaxing.
No, definitely not, Ruth. I'll leave that one to Vicky.
And just thinking, I mean, we're coming to the end of lockdown now, but how was lockdown for you? Obviously, you've got your children, and you've moved house as well in all this going on. So how did you find lockdown?
It's yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, and it's been like a mixed sort of set of emotions, really. So I've been really busy with work, working from home, and the workload really escalated as soon as sort of lockdown hit, really, with my job. So I've been incredibly busy with work. But it's also been fantastic being at home more, to spending more time with the family and with Vicky. So it's been great, not having to do those commutes into the office and back, and being able to spend time having dinner with them. So that's been really nice sort of time doing that. But then there's obviously been the ups and the downs of lockdowns, being stuck at home, not having the same sort of banter as what you would have in the office, and speaking to your friends in the office, really.
Where is your office?
My office is in Bicester, so it's not far away, but yeah, so what is it, 20 minutes each way from where I am. But yeah, those 20 minutes, as well as the extra hours you do sort of at the beginning and the end of the day, they seem to add up and sort of take out a lot of time from sort of the home life.
And who would you choose to have been in lockdown with you? That your two people, who would you like to have?
So you mentioned this at the beginning of the week, actually, Ruth, and I've been racking my brains all week, and this has probably been the most difficult question you asked, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and it kind of came to me today, and I was thinking Bear Grylls would be one of them. Just because of the fitness and the adventure side of things, but also because of his faith, and how I'd like to sit there and ask him, whilst doing all this adventure sort of stuff, how he came to faith, how it fits in alongside his time in the public eye, but also when he was in the SAS a number of years ago now. And the other thing is the kids absolutely idolize him, so I'd be a really cool dad if if that had happened. And the second one was actually I've got a couple of work colleagues who work for me out in Sweden, and the reason I would want to be with those guys is because they haven't really had a lockdown in Sweden. So they keep sending me all these pictures of them out skiing or at the ice hotel, or out in hot tubs somewhere in the middle of these ice fields and stuff like that. And so those are the other two guys I thought about. So I would have spent lockdown with or this time with, and they're both great guys as well, really kind and friendly guys.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And Luke, have you got a favourite Bible verse?
I'm gonna break the rules here, Ruth. I've actually got two.
Oh, you're not the only one that's done that. It's fine.
Well,
Hard to pick one, isn't it? It's hard.
Well, I picked Matthew 6 verse 25. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, whether you drink or eat your body, etc., etc. And I think that one just kind of is always a verse I come back to, especially when I'm busy at work and things are quite hard. That's always a verse I come back to. And then the second one I picked is Romans 8 verses 37 to 39, and it's the verse about neither death nor life, neither angels and demons, neither present nor future, power, heights or depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. And it's a verse that I read at my granddad's funeral, and so it's got sentimental reasons, that verse as well. So.
Yeah, it's an amazing verse.
Do you find being a Christian in your work situation difficult? Are there particular challenges, or is it straightforward?
I do actually, yeah, because most of my time is dealing with contractors out on site. So, yeah, it's very difficult to sort of speak to them openly about my faith, and the same with my work colleagues. Really, there's only one colleague I know who's a Christian as well, in the office. So I find it quite difficult to speak to them about my faith, and I don't really sort of sit there and preach at them all the time, but I try and just act like I would, kind-hearted. I try and keep all those sort of things close at heart, really, when I'm speaking to the guys in the office and managing them, and hopefully that hopefully my demeanor kind of comes across Christian-like, I suppose. That's the right word. But yeah, it is difficult, and it's a hard it's quite a hard industry to sort of speak about faith in, I would have said, which is challenging.
I was also sort of meaning, I mean, are there situations where you're working for a client who'd like you to cut a corner that you're not comfortable with, or does that kind of situation arise?
Not particularly, really, no. Because my industry's my background's all engineering. There's not many corners you can really cut, and if you do, it would be wrong, and then something wouldn't work properly. So, so yeah, I try and there's not really any corners to cut.
Is it time for Cromwell?
I've decided one thing. You live in Middle Barton, is that correct? Just. I know nothing about Middle Barton, so sell it to me. What's it got? What are its good points? Should I
Yes.
come for my holidays?
Yeah, so it's a small village north of Kidlington, on the sort of just off the Banbury Road, by Hot Cross Holt. It's a great village. I grew up in Tackley, which isn't far away as well. So I come from a small village, and the reason we sort of moved here to Middle Barton was because Tackley was really expensive for housing when we were first looking to buy a house, and Middle Barton, we decided to come and have a look, and we found a few houses that were in our sort of price range. Still had the village sort of life, and yeah, it's very family orientated as well in Middle Barton. So there's lots of sort of families here, lots of young families. So yeah, it's a really nice village to live in. It's got a couple of pubs as well, which is always a bonus to meet up with when we're not in lockdown. Yeah, so yeah, it's a great place to live. And then there's obviously the countryside. So for me, that's great, because I love my cross country running, as I said, and my cycling out into the Cotswolds and what have you.
So is there a school in the village for the children?
Yeah, there's a primary school in the village, which is doing really well, and yeah, there's the secondary school of choice is Chipping Norton.
Right.
So yeah, not far away from that either. So yeah, it is good. It's great life here in Middle Barton. Yeah, it's good.
That's good.
Okay, Cromwell.
Right, here's your moment, Crumbs. Luke, the most important question: do you prefer cats or dogs?
Dogs all the way.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got a Cocker Spaniel or Sprocker Spaniel named Fern, and she's getting old now. She's 13, but yeah, I love my dog.
I didn't know you had a dog. There you go.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Well, see, Cromwell, you win.
Right, I think that's about all we've got time for. Just to say thanks, Luke, for giving us your time and sharing some really interesting things about your life. Thanks everyone who's watching. We appreciate that very much. And if you're very good, we will be back next week with a new one.